I need to turn. Hold on. All right. This thing bothers me a little bit. Are we good, Serena? Okay, so we're going to talk about live streaming. So live streaming has become a pretty regular part of what we do on our team. We live stream mostly public meetings, but we do a lot of videos as well. So video's really been incorporated into what we do on the teams and what we do on Fire. So a couple of the live streaming apps, Periscope is one of them. Periscope I have never used. It was really popular a few years ago. I'd say probably 4 years ago. And I know CAL FIRE used it a lot. That's where I saw it. And people would live stream. You could comment. It was very similar to the Facebook Live. Twitter bought out Periscope. So Twitter's live feed platform is Periscope. I, again, have not used it, nor have I used it through Twitter. The live stream I've only done is Facebook. So we're going to kind of concentrate on Facebook. We're going to talk about YouTube. She's in my pants over here. It's on. It's on.
It wasn't coming on. It's not going on. Is it now?
Yes, hello? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me talking? Is my mic working?
We can ask live, and then we'll continue to hear for 3 days.
Yeah, if anybody live can hear it, type something in the, if anybody on the Facebook page can hear it, type something into the...
Okay. Chris Barth, if you're watching, can you hear me? Chris and I did a live stream for a public meeting and asked the public if they could hear the audio because we had some problems. So for 3 days, literally, people were telling us they could hear the audio as they rewatched the thing. So don't ask the people at home if they can hear the audio. So anyway, we're going to talk about Facebook Live. We're going to dabble a little bit on YouTube. Chris, have you used YouTube Live? Okay, neither of us have used it, so there's still some things we can talk about that are unanswered. Maybe some folks at home or anybody here who's used YouTube Live can help us out with that. So Facebook Live, the reason we use Facebook Live for me is because we can run it live through our phones. When we travel a lot, we don't have a lot of audio-visual equipment. We're pretty limited on what we can carry. We're limited to basically microphones, and that's really like cords and hotspots and things. So we use Facebook because we don't have a lot of storage on our phone. Facebook will cache whatever that is that you're streaming live, and then it'll keep it there so people can go back and watch it. Most of us don't have enough memory on our phones or our iPads to hold a 2-hour public meeting. So I think that's one of the things why we haven't done YouTube as far as putting our videos on there, is because we don't have that capability. YouTube does have live, but we haven't used it. I'm not sure if YouTube will cache the video like Facebook does. Facebook has just been very user-friendly to us when we're out in the field and we don't have a lot of equipment with us. So some of the mics that we have, I typically carry a small lav mic on a long cord, and it comes up into a small ball like this, and I can carry it, in my pocket. Put a long extension cord on it. I have a plug that goes into the bottom of my iPhone that I can plug that in, and we just run it to the speaker and use it that way. One of the things I've learned over the years is that you need to know what kinds of adapters you need for your phone. So with an iPad or with a iPhone, there's 2 different adapters. One I just learned today. Chris was talking about it earlier. It's a, what is it again? The one that comes out of the audio jack.
This is going to sound complicated. It isn't once you think about it. But the jack that's on a microphone is called a TRS jack. Okay, it has 3 metal parts and 2 black circles. So if you look at those little 3.5 millimeter jacks that's on the end of one, you'll see metal, black line, metal, black line, metal. Okay, that's a TRS jack, and it's what comes as your microphone uses when you want to plug it in. On your iPad or your tablet or your phone, that is a headphone jack. It requires a different kind of jack to access, to turn it into a microphone, to make it act like a microphone, and that is a TRRS jack. What that means is it will have metal, black line, metal, metal, black line, metal, black line, metal, black line, metal. It'll have 4 metal sections and 3 black lines instead of 3 metal sections and 2 black lines. So it's what we have. It's what you see on the thing in the back, the little adapter. It's about yay long, costs about $5 or $6. It has the TRRS adapter that goes into your phone, turns it into a microphone, and then comes out and it splits. One is for your headphones to go in, and the other one is for your mic to jack in. It's just an adapter. It's a very inexpensive piece, but short of you taking your phone and actually standing close enough to get audio on Dawn to do your interview, she can walk 20 feet ahead of me and do a camp tour while I'm following around, and be on a wireless mic, or if that's what you have, a wireless microphone. Otherwise, a long you can get a 20-foot microphone cord, and you can stand a little farther away and be able to do. Sometimes we have giant maps, and you need to be far enough away to see the map, and so it helps to have the long cord. But the cord won't work at all in your phone unless you have the adapter, because your phone is meant to be headphones.
Does wireless work okay?
Wireless does work okay.
Yeah.
You have to remember about batteries, though, and that is something that you have to take into consideration. Charging or batteries. It seems like batteries always fail.
The good thing is, always get wireless microphones that use AA batteries, because what do you
Yes.
have in fire camp?
AA batteries.
9 million AA batteries. So, just use those. Make sure if you're going to do something, change them out every time and throw them in the used battery box. They're not dead, but you need to make sure you change them often enough.
So I use it's a lightning cable that goes into the bottom of an iPhone, and that will plug into a regular jack. And this is the microphone that I use, and I just string that out, and I literally tape this to the microphone, to the AV system, wherever we're using. So microphones are a big thing that you need to think of. Batteries is another thing. So I carry, probably 3 or 4 of these battery packs, because it never fails that your phone's going dead, or you have 15% battery left and you have to do a community meeting and it doesn't stay. You use your battery pretty quickly running a public meeting. So these charge cords, always think of backups within backups when you're doing live. And that goes for everything, and we'll talk about a lot of that. But just for the equipment to run just a simple phone, you want to make sure you have a couple of things there for backup. So within that, so the other thing we need for live streaming is service. So most of our fires are not really in the best cell service areas. So cell service is one thing you need to think of as well. Cell service, it can be spotty. I carry a hotspot. It's a government hotspot. It's a little stronger than a cell phone, so I can tap into that. But there's places where you just don't have service at all, and Wi-Fi is something that you're going to have to try to figure out. So getting Wi-Fi, making appointments with people to make sure that you can connect to that Wi-Fi, make sure it's strong enough to hold a live stream. Those are really important. If your meeting is at a school, you want to make sure that if you're going to use Facebook, that it's unblocked and that you've made sure that it's unblocked, because schools block Facebook. You're not allowed to get on it. The kids aren't. So when you tap into their Wi-Fi and you go to run your Facebook live meeting, you can't get to Facebook at all. So one of their techs has to go in and unblock that. So that's one thing to take into consideration before you get there. And all this should be done, obviously, the day in advance at least. So if you can't get in with Facebook, that's a time maybe you could try YouTube Live. Again, I think Facebook is much easier. That's just what we're used to. I would imagine we'll probably try YouTube Live at some point.
I would add that according to, to experiment with either of them. I mean, nice thing about Facebook is it's a one-step process. You shoot it, it's loaded. You don't have to shoot it somewhere, download it, upload it, do any of those things. It's just on. But YouTube Live does the same thing. Like we said, we haven't used it because we've been happy with using Facebook Live. But I did hear some things about captioning, that YouTube has better, more accurate captioning, automatic captioning, than Facebook Live. I can't verify that. I don't know for sure, but I would suggest, really recommend that you experiment with both of them, try them, and then decide which one works for you.
Captioning is something that we need to start thinking more about as well. So this is something that we've run into where I'm at in Southern Colorado. We have a couple of folks who are hearing impaired, and we need to get sign language ASL interpreters in. And we've had a couple fires last year where we just ran those interpreters ragged. There was a few of them. They were within 2-hour drive. We were having 2 public meetings a day sometimes. So we were really struggling. We did do some of the captioning, and it's a little clunky, but it does work, Facebook captions as well. But it's not live captioning, and that's really what we're after with these live meetings, is being able to have somebody present to do the interpretation for sign language or the any sort of span. We have the Spanish speaking one as well. So those things, think about those. With the live, that's where you're really limited in being able to do those. With live, this is a fire that we did. We did a public meeting every day. Unfortunately, when we showed up, somebody volunteered the team to do a daily public meeting, and we had to stick to that because that's what they promised the residents. So we did one every day. We learned a lot doing these every day. Every day we had at least one failure, no matter what we did. So it never fails, especially with live, that something is probably going to go wrong. So these are some of our live streams here. And you can see here some of our limitations. We didn't have a wall to put a map on. We didn't have a wall to put a map on. We didn't have a big screen to display the map. So we really struggled with the visual piece of this. Thinking of how you're going to display that map and what people are going to look like is pretty important too. So when you go to plan your live stream, you want to look at your map layer that you have here. So we use Google Earth Flyover. RIC like to use those so we could kind of scroll around and zoom in and do some things. The problem is when you go to use a pointer on this stuff for the folks at home, they can't really see it. They can't see it up against that background. So we struggled with, we have purple pointers, green pointers, red pointers. I carry one of each or 2 of each if I can. Depending on what that background is. So think about that. Think about before you go live, test it, see what works, have somebody watch it, and see what shows up best, because the public is very quick to criticize you during live, and will tell you very quickly what you're doing wrong, and you can try to fix it, but it doesn't always work. We had, at one point, when you get started with Facebook Live, 2 years ago, you could only do Facebook Live in one direction. And then you could start it in one direction, and you could never turn it, and it would go with it. So if you started this way, it had to stay this way. Last year, they went to where it will rotate in the middle of live, but there's been numerous occasions where we've tried to fine-tune the phone during the live, and it flipped on us, and it would never flip back, so we had to completely cut it and start over again. So getting that in place, getting that started, even here today we started. They tested this stuff yesterday, and this morning we started, and Chris was standing on the wall. So get that in place. Make sure you know what it looks like before you get started. And that goes with your audio visual stuff. So this was our ASL interpreter here, and we had a huge line of people on the left that needed to speak, and then we had our map. So being able to go back and forth, we really struggled with that, and zooming in. People want to see the map, and we obviously have to show the interpreter for obvious reasons. So trying to get all that in place and making those adjustments. Sometimes you just have to do it better the next time, which is what we had to do here. But try not to move the camera much when you do live streaming because of that tilt factor. And then you can kind of make people a little bit sick too. Let's see. So when you start your live stream, one of the best things to do is we make an announcement about 15 minutes ahead of time. Just say that we're going to go live at 7 o'clock. And that gives people a chance to get ready. And then we will turn our live cameras on probably, 3 minutes before we get started, so people can see and they're waiting and they have something there. There's been a few times we've been late, but try to be early even if nobody's talking. That way they can see people getting set up, and it kind of preps them, gets them a chance to gather, and then be ready for you to go.
I want to add in the very ad hoc but fancy way we did some at. It's not fancy at all. I'm making myself feel better. But so I was watching how CAL FIRE does it when we first started with these, and the CAL FIRE has this very fancy, it comes on screen about a minute before, and there's a whiteboard and it has the map showing, and there's music playing, jazzy, and then Daniel Berlant walks on and goes, "Hi, I'm here with CAL FIRE," and it's all very studio, and here we are in a yurt trying to do, emulate this thing. So we decided that the problem we had was what would happen is we would start broadcasting and talking, and a minute later is when we had our biggest audience. They missed the whole first part of what we were doing because it takes people a while. You get the note. If you've ever gotten a notice on your phone, you get it, and then you're like, oh, they're going live, and you finish your conversation, then you open the thing. It takes people a while to get there. So filling the time at the beginning. So what we did was, this was our interpretation of that, but it worked. We made a sign, an 8.5 by 11 little piece of paper that said, "We'll be starting our live stream update in 2 minutes," and we taped it to the wall of the yurt. Okay, so we turn 2 minutes beforehand. We turn on the video, and we get a close up of this thing. That's all that's in the screen is this little sign that says, we're going to do this in 2 minutes. And then, even fancier, Katie, bless her heart, Katie O'Hara, we took her phone and she turned music on her phone. And she was going to do the update, so she had the mic with her. So she held the phone kind of like this till we knew. And I was listening and things, so I could hear that. Okay, we've got music, we got the thing going. She's off screen. We were music, and we got this going because they need to hear sound during that 2 minutes, so they know that they can actually hear you. Because otherwise, they're like, "Hello, I can't hear anything," and even if you don't mean to be. So this is going now. Then there's a fancy sort of two-step that happens when it's time to go on. You're counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and she would pull the phone slowly away from her like a music fade, right? While she stepped in front of the camera. It was awesome. I mean, but the idea is you make up what you have to get the job done, and we needed something to go on. We needed there to be sound, but short of her standing there doing a little, soft shoe or telling a joke or something else, we needed something that would cause sound, and so we did music, but then we had to get it away, so we had the slow fade, and it works beautifully. So anyway, I'm just saying, make up what you have to do to make it work, but have something on there ahead of time so that people can hear something and see something, and they know they're at the right place, and then they'll stick around for when the actual time comes.
So the other thing that we do, we don't have fancy music, but I might have to upgrade to that. That's why you guys make the big bucks there. So we will always type in the header of the live meeting that this is a public meeting for this fire at this date. This is the time it starts. That way when people go back, they know when it is, and hopefully they'll pay attention to, they don't need to answer live, "Yes, I can hear you," 3 days later. So visual, of course, and so we pan back so you can see movement, and you can see the microphone, you can see that people are there and kind of set up, but that way it's just not an empty space and they think there's nobody there. They at least can see people moving around, and they can hear you. So again, visual visual stuff, get all that together beforehand. I lost my train of thought there when you came up. I had it. So prepping for live streaming. Visual stuff, of course, but we want to make sure that we have more than 2 people when you're live streaming. So with us, and I know Chris does the same thing, when I live stream a public meeting, we always have somebody that's going to be there to answer questions for the folks that are watching live. So I have a person running the camera, sitting with the camera or the iPad or the phone or whatever. I have somebody with at least one person, if not 2 of us, with an iPad monitoring the questions that come through. So not only can you answer questions that are coming in, but you can start writing down like themes of some of these questions that people have. So you see 4 or 5 people talking about evacuations, you write that down, so when it comes up for us for question and answer section, you can bring that up. RIC would call on us from time to time and ask, are there any questions from Facebook? And we would have a couple questions and we'd be able to answer that there. So it's kind of a two-way street. We never want to open that up and then not be there to answer those questions. It just doesn't look good. So if you're going to live stream, you want to make sure you have at least a couple of people and you have ways to monitor that. That is super important to have that monitoring capability. Right? Yes. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I just want, were you going to talk about, how many people you need to do like an ops briefing and?
Yeah. Do you want me to cover ops briefings? Yeah. Okay. We don't live them, but yeah, we record them.
See, she's being kind to her operations people. Hi, often live stream.
Do you guys live your ops briefings?
Sometimes we
really?
do. We do in the middle of the day. So but it takes some people to do well and to be able to respond to questions at the same time you're trying to live stream something. Because the reason we do it live is because we want them to respond to questions. We want people to have a chance to ask questions directly to the operations person and be able to provide those answers. Sometimes it takes some of the heat out of public meetings. Like if you can do this a couple times before a public meeting, then they feel like they're getting their questions answered, and so there isn't as much, how come we don't know anything at the public meeting? So that's the intent, but go ahead with how you do that.
Well, we're a little kinder to our ops people, and we record theirs. It usually takes our ops guys several times to get a short briefing done, and we do record. For us, we record them and then we upload them to Facebook, and we can capture those. So we have, when we just do the recordings, it's usually just 2 of us. It's the ops person and then the person running the camera. For us, we try to keep the intimidation factor for the ops guys down by just having one person. They hate the camera anyway. We had a fire last year. We were doing 4 ops briefings a day. And we had an ops person specifically assigned to us just to do ops briefing videos. So never did them live, but it just takes the 2 of us. So for live streaming, it's definitely going to take more. When we do ours, I set up a tripod. We do it inside. We have a room off to the side. We have a map on the wall. The same map that they use for briefings because they're used to those. And they come in, we set them up with a mic, and then we just let them go around the map. And then you can talk about how you do yours.
Well, and we do tape some operational briefings. It's not always, but it's becoming more and more like everything else a part of the job to be able to do these kind of briefings. And so we have expectations of, and usually it's the trainee that has to do them. The operations says, well, my trainee will do it. I'm not going to do it. Okay. So, we usually run them through it one time, give them a chance. And usually what I tell them is, tell me the same thing that you tell people what you tell them at a public meeting, go around and give us the update on what's going on. We also do them at times with a PIO. And we'll film, the PIO will answer questions and give the briefing on the map if they're familiar enough with it. So either way. But usually when we do it, the reason we do it live is because we're getting feedback on the Facebook page and people are able to ask questions, as like I said before. So it takes for us to do it well, it takes 3 people. It takes the ops person standing up at the front, and the ops person is with the lead PIO. And then there's a person filming, maybe it takes 4 people, because there's a person filming, and that person stays with the camera to make sure and is listening to make sure the live feed is going okay, and can see the questions as they come up on the camera. Then there's a person with them that's writing down the questions. And then that person runs them up to the lead PIO and hands them as they, tear them off a page, hand the lead PIO, run back, write down more questions, because the questions come in faster than you can answer them. So they're writing down questions and then handing them off. And then the lead PIO comes in next to the ops person. And remember, the ops person has the microphone. So the lead PIO has to come in and stand uncomfortably close in his personal space and say, Jenny would like to know, speak loudly, whatever it is, unless you happen to have like this, a 2-mic system, in which case you can read in both things. But then they read in the question, and the ops guy comes and answers whatever that question is. Kind of like you do at a public meeting. You have some way to give them the question. But it takes, the person running the camera can't really read. They're busy doing stuff. It's hard for them to read questions. By the time he gets done reading them, there's 4 more questions have gone by. So it can be difficult to keep track of it all. It takes at least 2, if not a 3rd person, to be able to manage running it back and forth to do it that way. So when we do it live, it takes a couple of people. We don't make them stay up there forever. We just.
How long does that typically take?
It might be 10 minutes that we're up there. He does the briefing and we answer a few questions, and when the questions slow down, we just say, okay, we'll be back at. The key to it, though, what I find, and I know you guys do the same thing, the key to it is having a set time every day that you do these things. The reason that people watch the evening news at 6 o'clock is because they know it's coming on at 6 o'clock. They know where they can go to get the day's news. So they come home and they sit, they wait for it to come on, there's the news. It's the same with you. If they know you're going to come on at a certain time each day, or twice a day, or 3 times a day, and you should post these everywhere, what time you'll be on live, or what time you're going to post the ops briefing, and then stick to that schedule. If you're going to videotape it in enough time to edit it and get it uploaded. You can schedule it. You can get it done early. You can schedule things on Facebook. Schedule it to post at 6 o'clock, so they know exactly when it'll happen on any given day. That will make people much happier.
Yeah, scheduling for the live streaming is big for the public. They know when they can show up online to watch that. And then there's people who know that they can't make it at the time, but they know when they get out of work that they're going to be able to get on and watch what we did in the afternoon. We had several last year where we went to almost daily or every other day scheduled live stream community meetings, and it was a huge piece of the information puzzle for those folks. The Neil Diamond fire. One of the fires we had last year, we were the ones that got to deal with Neil Diamond, and that one was a product of our scheduled daily briefings. And when his wife called, she said to me, "We watch you guys every day, and we wait for your videos every day, and we want to give back because of what you guys have done for us." And so it was the scheduled meetings every day, keeping them informed, and that's what did it for that public. We'll hit some more on that fire later, but it was that fire in itself was big for the community and where it was.
You said you use a tripod for the phone.
I do use a tripod. I carry a regular sized tripod just because it's. Do you have one over there?
The tripod that we have there is actually a full length. The one that we're using today, the legs extend. We just have it sitting on a table. And there are all kinds of holders for your stuff. I have this kind that holds a phone.
Yep.
I have this kind that holds my tablet. She has a different kind that holds her phone and tablet. But these all screw into the top of your tripod. And have one. Especially, you don't think your computer weighs a lot of your tablet until you've been standing there for 2 hours trying not to shake while you're holding it. So
tripod is a must.
It's a must.
It's a must. Mine is bigger than that. I have a lot of things that I carry, and it takes a beating in my work truck. So I've gone through a couple of smaller ones. So I keep a beefier one just because I'm pretty hard on them, and I feel like they're better when they're fully stood up outside in the wind. Sometimes we stream morning briefings for internal purposes for a spike camp. We don't typically do briefings for the public. I know some teams have done briefings for the public, done a live stream of the morning briefing. Yeah, I'd Some teams I've seen do it, but that's not something we do.
So let me ask this question, just so I get this, I'm on tape, is what do you use to keep it private? Are you Facebook live streaming?
Nope,
I was
we
gonna
are
say, it must
using
be-
Zoom.
Okay.
It's a different service, but we use Zoom to stream our morning briefing to like a spike camp or a cooperator that can't make it if it's on a completely other side of the county. But that's why I carry the bigger tripod. Is I have a few uses that come out of it.
And another idea, Zoom is one, and I know that it's on Forest Service computers. Another one that we have used is we've used Ustream. Ustream has the ability to, it live streams things. It has ads in it unless you pay not to have ads. And
That's right.
it was like $99, something like that, which on a fire, load retardant and $99. It was a good idea for the forest supervisor wanted to have it, and the SO was a long way away from the fire, and there were county commissioners spread all over that needed to see the briefing in the morning, but we didn't want it going everywhere, so we only shared the Ustream channel with those people, and it was worth the $99 to them to get the ad free. Another reason that we used Periscope before, and what it's still good for, if you want to use it, is for things like that. When, for instance, there's people at the regional office that need to see a live stream, you can add people by name to the live stream so only they can see it. They have to download Periscope. It's not a big deal. It's an app. It's you download Periscope, you sign up for an account, name and email, and you're done. It's not difficult. And we use it for when leadership needs to see something, the Washington office needs to see things, and it makes it possible for them to tap into it and do only for them to see it. We've also used it, Periscope, for press conferences. When we're doing a media briefing, but the media can't make it to our fire for whatever reason, it's far away, but they're interested, is we tell all the media, in order to be part of a press conference, you have to have the Periscope app. They download it, we put everyone's name in as the group that we're streaming to, and they log in and they can ask questions, and we can answer questions, and it's only to that group. So there's a lot of uses for it and a lot of tools depending on what you're trying to accomplish. Is there online?
Individuals from Alaska said they use YouTube Live on a channel to stream only to a spike camp or remote location for agency admin. Typically, only one or two viewers, and very little risk of sharing with them.
Do you want to repeat
Okay,
that?
so there was somebody on Facebook that talked about using YouTube Live to do the same thing and stream that to a spike camp. And he said his private channel, typically 1 to 2 people, but they use YouTube Live for that. Thank you. So other considerations when you're doing live, of course, the platform. You have all your visuals for the meeting itself. You look at Wi-Fi, you look at cords, you look at audio-visual stuff. But the other thing is going to be just the location in general. Is it going to hold enough people? Is it going to have the Wi-Fi? Is it going to have cell service? That kind of stuff. Are you doing it outside? Are you doing it inside? What's the background noise going to be? So all that stuff you need to take into consideration. Background noise is a big thing. If you show up and you start live streaming and it's super noisy and it's noise in a big building, you can't really stop that. So try to look at that stuff ahead of time and make sure that they're going to be able to hear you very clearly. So expectations with the audience. When you do live stream, just like you give ground rules in a community meeting, you're going to give those same to the folks online. Let them know that there's going to be question and answer. You'll get those after the meeting when you turn to the question and answer section. Again, each team is going to be different in how you do it. We went on a fire last year where the fire split into 2, and we had a Type 2 team on the north end of the fire and a Type 2 team on the south end. My IC does question and answer, and he stays as long as he has to do question and answer. And we had gotten this established with the community for about a week. And when the second team came in, they did not do question and answer. And so the community was not happy when they go to the first meeting and there's no question and answer. So make sure that however you guys are going to run that meeting, you let them know and give them an avenue to ask those questions. Even if it's, an email where they can send it in or something if you're not going to do the question and answer live. But make sure you set those expectations and make sure you're monitoring what's in there. Again, captioning, that's something we still struggle with. If you can't caption, look at getting an ASL interpreter in there if you need one, and then Spanish translator if you need that as well. The one fire we did, we had the Spanish translator and the ASL interpreter at the same time. It was a very, very, very clunky meeting, but we had to do what we had to do to make it work. There are resources for ASL, and those can be found through the local forest or the local counties. Usually they'll know if somebody is in the community that needs that assistance, and you can try to get that arranged. If you're with a team, you're going to probably have to put them on a contract, so get a hold of them. I like to say a day or two early, but when you're planning public meetings, it's not that easy. But just know that it's not going to happen right away.
Yeah, and we always get told the Forest Service has people on contract, but there's a 24-hour turnaround. I'm like,
Right.
That's not going to work for me. We need somebody sooner, so that's always hard. What I would suggest is health departments often have people who can help you with that kind of thing. So go to the county or city health department. They often have it. Sometimes the police department or the fire department have people that do that. Worst come to worst, I've found really good luck in going to Catholic churches in communities, because if we need Hispanic translation, because a lot of them are Catholic, and they'll find a parishioner or somebody, but you got to be, it's better to have somebody who's verified, because you just, I can't tell what they're translating, so you can get yourself in trouble if you don't use somebody verified.
We've also make sure you are clear with that ASL interpreter. We had one show up for a live community meeting, and she came in and she had just like this blank look on her face, and she said, "I can't do this." And I said, "Well, why can't you do this? You're here for this." And she said, "You have to be certified to do it on live TV." And so that was a different certification that they had to hold. And so she could not be on, it was this fire here, she could not be on it that day. She had to be off to the side and meet with people one-on-one, because she was not certified to do it live. And that's to protect her as well.
I had one more thing about captions. Facebook does a pretty good job. If you turn on, it'll capture the audio, and you can bring it up on the side and edit it. So after it goes, go in and look at it, because sometimes they misinterpret words a lot. So you have to go through and go, what did we say? We did not say the Tesla drove fast. We said something else. I don't know what it was. So you have to go in and edit it, but it's not that difficult. Sometimes it does pretty well, and you only have to edit a couple of things, and then and you're pretty close. But if it is captioned, go check it, because they can turn on.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does it automatically. It does captions.
Facebook?
Yeah, live.
Yes.
And so it does it automatically. It's in there, and people who are hard of hearing will turn it on, and you won't know that it's gobbledygook. So make sure that you go in.
I don't know that the live has it. I think it's only recordings.
I don't
Unless
know.
that's changed.
I think it has
changed.
We have a question online.
It was a comment that Arizona has a program that you can order interpreters and people do the captions to help.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that's probably Michelle, because in
Probably-
Arizona,
yeah,
in
they're
Arizona,
the lucky state.
it's who?
Brandolin?
Oh, Brandolin. Okay. They have a really pretty strong program for
Very
closed
strong program.
captioning and requirements of things in Arizona. So, but they have access to things because it's law in Arizona. You can order things and find things that you can't find somewhere else. So, if you go to Washington or you go to North Dakota and try to find a Spanish interpreter or even a sign language interpreter, it can be very difficult.
Yeah. It's not easy for sure, but we have to try to provide that service where we can. It's, I get questioned sometimes of why we need the service, and when you have somebody that is that speaks a different language, or you have somebody that can't hear what we're talking about, especially if there's evacuations, it's a life and death situation for those guys. It's not just we're trying to provide an extra fun service. I mean, it's a real thing, and we need to really try to accommodate those people when we can. So captioning. Now, let's talk a little bit. We have not a lot of time left, but those are the basics. Do you have a page here that I could show them where to go live, since it's logged in on your Facebook?
You mean on the Facebook page?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just bring up one of your pages.
I'll just bring up my page.
Okay.
There you go.
So to
Oh,
go.
Nice haircut. You just click in there. See more. You don't have
No,
to
you
do
can
that.
go there too. I just always get to it through the video.
Oh, it's not. Why is it not showing how?
I always go here. No. Here, there it is. All right. So Facebook's like Google; it changes all the time. So to go live on Facebook, those three dots off to the side will bring up this menu here. So my advice, if you're going to go live, is to bring that up. Make sure your screen is rotated right. So if it's rotated correctly, no matter how it's rotated, that your little bar here for putting your post information will be right side. So if it's this way, it's going to film sideways. So make sure everything's rotated right. And then when you go in there, I type in all of the information about the day, the fire name, fire location, because inevitably you'll get people that come in the middle of it and say, "Where's this fire?" Well, how did you find this live feed when you don't know where this fire is, you know? That always blows my mind because you get those people pretty often. So fire location, fire name, the date, and the time. And that's if you do, especially if you do a couple a day. But people will go back and you'll get most of your views later after it's done. So make sure you put the time on there. And then once you get it ready, you click here. No. So once you get everything ready, there's going to be a blue, it looks like this. And it has the little camera in it. And once you guys are ready, you click that and it gets going. So the other thing with Facebook is when you're done, you hit the end button and it'll ask you, do you want to save this post? And there's a lot of times I go in and I don't pay attention and just, I'm done and I'm ready to get rid of the app. And then you don't realize that you told it not to save. So you need to make sure you tell it to save the post, and then it'll process it, and then it'll keep it on your page. So you have that option to not keep it there, but you want to make sure that you click save the post.
And when you click on this, you don't have to worry. See, it's moved. It did move. It wasn't just you click on live video, and it will bring up a screen that gives you you aren't live yet. You click on live video, and you still have time. You have a place to put in your hashtags and the date and the time and the name of the fire and when this was and all that kind of stuff ahead of time. And there's a button that says go live. And until you click that, you're not live. And then there's a sort of a countdown. It goes 3, 2, 1, whatever, and then it starts. So you have fair warning. It's not like you're afraid to click this because it's going to go live right then. It's not. That's just where you go live. So don't worry about that.
And Facebook now is trying to compete with Snapchat, and it even gives you little filters on the bottom when you go live. So you don't want to click those.
Make sure you give your ops guy some funny glasses and a little hat. Yes.
So this is petty, but it's nice to keep it consistent when you do Instagram and Facebook and all the others. Under your page name, it'll say @ and you make your @ name. How do you change that?
We can. So that's going to be.
On Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have the same handles on.
So you can click on that handle itself.
Okay.
And I know in years previous, and I think it's changed, but you had to have at least 25 followers to go in there and change that. It was a weird Facebook thing. But now I think you can just click on it. And it's in setting too. It's a short name, I think, is what Facebook calls it. And click on that and it'll go in and let you change that. And so what it then does, and instead of having a Facebook page that says facebook.com/12345678910, it would be /Springfire. And then people could find it with the @ symbol and Springfire. Towards the end of the year, the question was, is there a minimum to be able to change that? And towards the end of last summer, I don't think there was a minimum anymore. But there was at least at the beginning of last summer. And to repeat the question the earlier question was, how do you change the handle or the short name in Facebook on your page? Okay, and quickly for YouTube, it's pretty easy for the live. It's right up here on the top. Sometimes you have to search it, but if you just go to the home page, it's going to be up there. And then you'll either upload a video or you can go live.
Does that have room also that if you hit go live, then you have
I
time to
don't
type
know.
in?
Okay, never mind.
Let's see. Go live for any reason.